The past weekend saw London's streets filled with protests as both anti-immigration and opposing anti-racism demonstrators held rallies. Police beefed up their operations in the capital, drafting in officers from across the country to prevent any violence between the two groups, where there was a number of arrests on both sides. On the anti-immigration side of the protests, organised by Tommy Robinson, people could be heard shouting "Two-tier Keir fueled the riots," "Stop the boats," as well as calls to bring back the Rwanda plan. Some demonstrators wore "I am Peter Lynch" badges to demonstrate their anger at the 61-year-old man who died in prison after being jailed for screaming abuse at riot police. There was a couple of arrests for an alleged breach of the Public Order Act, an alleged breach of the peace, and one on suspicion of a racially aggravated public order offence. On the other side of the demonstrations, many anti-fascist and anti-racism protesters wore balaclavas or face masks to conceal their identity. The protest, organised by Stand Up to Racism, heard from speakers like Jeremy Corbyn and Diane Abbott. There was a period of pushing and shoving in this protest, according to the Metropolitan Police, when officers intervened near the Stand Up to Racism stage to arrest a woman for common assault. However, it has been understood that this woman has been de-arrested. Another arrest was made after an officer was allegedly assaulted as protesters tried to push through a police cordon. Churchill's statue in Parliament Square was protected by a ring of steel barriers, and the cenotaph on Whitehall was also sealed off. A regular GBNews contributor, Adam Brooks, attended both protests and appeared threatened and called ugly by hooded demonstrators in black balaclavas.
Guys, can I ask you why you're covering your faces today?
Why aren't you?
I'm not hiding myself. I'm pretty happy with my face. Why are you covering your face?
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should. What, is that a threat?
No, you're just ugly.
I'm just ugly. Okay, that's fair enough. Why are you covering your face today? No, you don't want to answer? Does anyone want to answer? Why are you wearing masks today? Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Move out the way, you're in the way.
What?
Move out the way.
No.
Move out the way. Move out the way. Move out the way.
Mr. Brooks was also filmed trying to speak to demonstrators at the anti-racism protest, but was ignored and appeared to be barged and had flags forcibly put in his face.
Okay.
Anti-fascist!
Okay.
Anti-fascist!
All right. Why are you standing around me?
Anti-fascist! Anti-fascist!
Am I meant to be scared?
Anti-fascist! Anti-fascist!
Am I fascist?
He's talking to you.
Am I fascist?
He's talking to you.
Why are you trying to touch me? Do you think you're intimidating me? I'm here on my own with a cameraman. Do I look scared? No? Am I meant to be intimidated, guys?
Anti-fascist!
Guys, am I meant to be intimidated?
Mr. Brooks felt he had more luck speaking to the anti-immigration protesters, where he found a young man named Baraka to discuss his motivations for attending.
So I've come here today to try and find out exactly, what the problem is and why people are here. I speak out a lot about illegal immigration and not knowing who is coming into this country. Unverified, unchecked men. Is that something that is high on your list of why you're here?
That's the problem too, because you see, right, when you see the government cares more about the people who have not contributed anything to this land than the people who have worked through the whole way, who have contributed so much to the system, like the pensioners, the winter fuel, scrapped. Why? Came from Sudan, arrived, somehow he's getting a house, he's getting everything for free, and you're sitting there, you're like, really? How is that possible? Because the 60-year-old, the 70-year-old, the 80-year-old who are not getting the pension, the winter fuel allowance, have contributed so much to this country, and I think they deserve something back.
Adam Brooks appeared on GBNews to react to his time in London at both the anti-immigration and anti-racism protests.
Now, multiple arrests were made in London following a day of protest yesterday. The Met says 3 of the arrests were made at the Uniting the Kingdom demonstration, 1 for being in breach of the Public Order Act and a breach of the peace, and 2 for racially aggravated public order offences. The other 2 arrests were made at the Stand Up to Racism counter-protest. However, one of them was de-arrested after she agreed to provide her details, having initially refused to do so. Now, activist and business owner and regular contributor to GB News, Adam Brooks, was at the protests yesterday and joins us now. Adam, genuinely thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, I've seen some of the footage you posted online from the protest yesterday. Tell us what it was like on that march. We've read about stuff, there's loads of stuff on social media, what it was like to actually be there.
Look, Dawn, I decided to take one of my employees with a camera and try and interview some people at both protests because I wanted to get some balance, you know, and we turned up at the anti-fascist or anti-racism march and we was threatened, we was barred, I had people in my face trying to grab the phone, they were masked up, balaclavaed up, and the police didn't seem to mind that, you know, and I just think, how can we have people with balaclavas on our streets? I mean, you're seeing the video now. It's quite menacing. And all I was asking them was, why are you covering your faces? And no one would tell me. And in my opinion, you do not go to the streets with a balaclava on if you're there to behave. If these were people that were on the other protests, I'm sure something would have been said and these images would have gone all around the world and on the front pages. But so we had to leave. The Met told me that for my own safety, it's probably best that I left the anti-fascist march, which is quite ironic. And then I turned up at the Unite the Kingdom march, and really I was met with many elderly people. There were families there, there were people of colour, a lot of singing, there was children there. I managed to sort of interview 4 or 5 different people from that sort of demo or rally, whatever you want to call it. And it was very good-natured. I didn't see any trouble there. I'm going to upload a video later of one of the organisers that I wanted to speak to, and you know, he does say that they didn't want to see any racism, they didn't want to see anyone putting anyone down. You know, they just wanted a day of sort of to show their feelings. They're not happy with the government, they're not happy with the direction of travel, and especially when they put Keir Starmer's picture and his videos up on the big screens. The boos were deafening, Dawn. Yeah. You know, there was tens of thousands of people here booing the Prime Minister of our country, and that was very eye-opening to me. Very eye-opening. But
Adam, what do you say to the accusations that are being repeated again in some of the newspapers today that the people on the Uniting the Kingdom march, the march you were on, which is the official title for it, or the Tommy Robinson march, as others are calling it, are racist and far right?
Well, look, I spoke to a lot of people on camera and off camera yesterday, and not one person said anything racist to me. I mean, I wouldn't have that anyway. In fact, it was the opposite. They was there just to say, look, we're worried about the way that the country is going, illegal immigration, something I speak about a lot on GB News, and get labelled racist. And, you know, it doesn't help when our Prime Minister calls everyone far right, you know, and labels and puts that on you. So there's a lot of older people that are worried for their grandchildren. You know, they see our borders are literally open. We don't know who's coming into this country. They're unvetted. We know nothing about them. We've seen some heinous crimes recently from people that are staying in the migrant hotels. And that's not to demonise all of these people. We know that. You know, it's not their fault. It's the system. Our system is broken. And these people should not be allowed to come over in their tens of thousands, unvetted. We know nothing about them. It's putting communities at risk.
Do you feel that many of the people you were speaking to on that march just feel their voices aren't being heard and they just want to get the voices out there? It's not even about Tommy Robinson, it's not about being far right, it is about just getting their voices heard because they don't feel politicians of any political colour are listening to them.
No, that is something that was coming across from everyone I spoke to. You know, they feel like they're ignored, and there's no MPs out there, they're saying, that represent their views in Parliament. So look, I spoke to people that were black, that were of Asian descent, that were old, young, gay, straight, There were children there. You know, this is not what I would call the far right. I actually asked a lot of people, do you consider yourself far right? And they were horrified at that label. So, you know, it's a very lazy sort of trope to put on those sort of gatherings. And it's a very easy weapon that the left will use to silence anyone that dares speak out. Now, again, I'll go back to those masked up, balaclavaed up people on the anti-fascist march. For me, they're the fascists. Why are they dressed in black? Why are they covering their faces? Why are they trying to stop me talking to people? If they've got legitimate concerns and a legitimate argument, you don't cover your face. You don't threaten. You know, I was barged. It was probably best that I left, you know, but one thing that they didn't like, Dawn, was that I would laugh. I don't think there's many media figures out there that would stick around. I don't get intimidated by this, you know. Under those balaclavas and under those masks will be people that work in our universities, in our NHS, in our schools. That's why they're covering their faces. They know they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And I think it's very sinister that, one, the police do not deal with them for being balaclavaed up on our streets. And two, the media, the mainstream media, apart from GBNews and a couple of others, do not want to show these balaclavaed people up on our streets. Why, Dawn? You know, they do not represent us as people.
No, they don't. Adam, thank you, genuinely thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I'm still joined by Amy Nicole Turner and Claire Muldoon, and we are now going to talk about what we heard Adam say. We didn't cover the march as much as I think some of us would have liked yesterday. It was a very happening news story. I mean, an estimated 25,000 people were on this march, Amy. What did you make of what Adam had to say about his experiences of being in London yesterday?
I just don't understand why someone, a self-proclaimed freedom fighter, would have such an issue with people choosing to wear balaclavas at their own free will. And I disagree with Adam that he said that if people on the other side were wearing balaclavas, it would have made national newspaper headlines. I don't agree with that, actually, because the march hasn't really made many headlines at all, and there were cases of racially aggravated incidences. So
but if we're talking, I'm not defending anyone here, but statistically, if we're talking 25,000 people on this march, and there were over 25,000 on the Uniting the Kingdom march, Stand Up to Racism, an estimated 20,000 people, that's 45,000 people. If we've got 6-7 arrests on that, I mean, that's statistically a very low offence rate.
It was more the fascination with people wearing balaclavas, but I think he's right that people don't want to wear them because they might be spotted and it might have implications for their job. But where I disagree with Adam is I think, fine, like you can't always be politically active in certain jobs, so of course they're going to need to keep anonymous. And I think that's also all right. It's not a problem to me, people wearing balaclavas, as long as they're in keeping within the law and peacefully protesting.
But surely part of protesting is actually putting yourself there, your identity there, because you're protesting either for your identity or against something that might actually happen. But here's the thing, uniting the kingdom, easy solution, get rid of devolution. Make everyone the same. We should be... The problem with these protests, and I'm not in favour of it, OK? Free speech, everything else, I so am in favour of it. Cancel culture doesn't have... the two words do not, are not in my dictionary. But honestly, this is 2024. Do we really need to be protesting at the drop of a hat, wave flagging, or trying to get our point across? We've actually, through these marches, I think, we've disseminated society as we know it and put an absolute ramrod made of steel right through society. We've divided so much. Can't we just come together? And it's not by protesting that we do this. And wearing a mask to hide your identity in terms of your freedom to protest. Irony? Muchly?
Personally, I find them quite threatening, and they are actually banned in several shopping centres now, people with balaclavas, because I think, well, why are you
I just don't think it's the most